So this is nearly over. Let's continue the madness. So yeah, this exists. I like it. There's not much to really add on to for the non-spoiler part. So this is going to be even less than a minute. But I do like how the characters improve during this. There definitely are some moments where you feel the connection within the characters. But what I want to talk about more is more specifically the things, let me just point to it, the things connected to this thing here. So why don't I go ahead and start talking about that? So this deals with, I had to re-record this twice. One, because I said something stupid, and the second one, because my iPad was like 10%, and I feel like I have to tell you by disconnecting the recording. But besides the point, this thing here. It deals with, like, the school festival. And do I like it with, like, oh, what classes they do? But I like the idea that at a certain point, because there's 2 points I love. One is, way before this, is the read-receive message little segment. Whereas like, oh, I'm going to read it. And it's like, oh, no. She doesn't know about read-receive. I'm like, oh, yes. This is the first time I've been like, oh, how's she gonna get up? Because, like, everyone knows what happens if I open a message on this. That's why on WhatsApp it's amazing, because you get to look at the message and not say you've read it. Notifications! I can look at the message and then pretend like I didn't. It's very, very interesting. But I like the idea that she didn't, so she read it. But she just, no, I'm going to look at it later. But it's an instant read received. So it's like instant. Obviously, if the phone's open naturally and you're just sleeping and you slept with the phone open, obviously it would read receive and you wouldn't be able to say that you didn't notice it. That's why I like the idea that he sent it to another group chat and then sent it back and then called. And then that was the moment where I was like, oh, is he? And then she was like, oh, no, sorry, that was me. And I was like, that was so close. But that leads to, more importantly, the whole mystery he pulls off. With the balloons, we're trying to get this thing organized. We're trying to do this thing. I also like the idea that he knows that one of his friends is really interested in mysteries. So he just changes a bunch of locks to absolute meaningless nonsense. So that she will be preoccupied throughout his entire thing. She would not care. And I like he did the same for like a couple others. Like he's like put them in specific places so specific things would play out, which is clever. I just like that. It's his thing of finally like, because they have a thing about like giving a heart that means a certain thing. I also like the very hilarious thing that like sort of like tech person was like, didn't know about the thing, gave a heart, and was like, oh yeah, that probably makes sense. And then later, when he sees the player, it's like, oh fuck, I didn't mean that. I just wanted to give you something nice. Shit. This is the most hilarious thing of like, oh. I also like when you get into it, you finally have these two being like, yeah. And I like at the end, because you've had another thing which is going along. He goes to America to sort of like take a year abroad to like do more studying. I also like the idea that he's like, join me, come with me. And I find it so fun because of that. I like those, I should be going to bed because it's midnight. But this is really fun and really entertaining. And it's one of the most insane things that I feel like you should watch. This is also going to be small. It's basically, this is fun. I said why in like the mysteries. And I definitely like that season because of this. Again, I said this in, I think, the other review. This is just a weird show with the idea of love being war. Love is full love. Question mark. I don't get it. I don't, but it's fun nonetheless. I think the idea is just really interesting in that insane, vibey way. So I hope you enjoy and good night. We need to go back to the past. Yeah, no, that's a stupid reference, but that's besides the point. I hadn't really recorded this because this keep found out. I know it's not connected, but I just get that annoying when it's like, and then it was and yeah, that's too high though. Actually, probably better to move it down a bit. Okay, that's besides the point because I don't use that. Anyway, so I started watching this, and I am going to be honest, a lot of the things that I watch is in dub. And I know there's a huge debate versus dub versus sub, and I get it. Because it's originally in Japanese, and a lot of the anime that is dubbed is because it's from that country. Obvious thing being obvious. A lot of the language nuances that certain languages have compared to others may be lost. 2 points to that though. One, I'm dumb and I can't really process story. That's why, like, a lot of the time I don't really read. Or when I do, it's from, like, sort of like manga or comics, where the pacing of it is far apart and I can sort of, like, go at it at my own pace, right? And two, along with the pace, I kind of want to watch it. And because I just, like, I've got this thing, and I don't know why I can do this, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I like to sort of, like, zone in. Like, reality around me sort of, like, fades. I don't know why. I sort of do that. When I'm at the movies, I'm like... It's so weird. Not a good thing. But that's why I watched dub. And at a certain point, season 2 stopped being a dub. Because, obviously, they're probably having a break. Because that is fair. But... because of that, I sort of stopped it. And then forgot it existed. And then didn't check back up on it... from that point on, and I was probably very stupid. But then I did! And I'm glad. It's a really good how it ends. It's fun. It's amazing. It's so cool. This is also one of the things I did when I was on holiday. Again, that whole thing that I did was very stupid, and I'm still doing the thing. But, one of the things I do like is throughout all of this, it's sort of, you're going back and forth and figuring out what's going on and how all of this happens, and I like it. How it works, what's going on, and I like it. I also like the fact that at a certain point, his thing is sort of like revealing, like, oh, why do my plans keep failing? It's like, it's interesting, he didn't know. At least at that point. But I like that later on. I also don't know whether there's going to be a third season, because it'd be interesting if there is. I don't know. But I also, it's revealed that, like, wait, you go back and forth. Because that's the whole point of this series, is that he's from the future and goes back. And it's really fun, and that dynamic is fun. And that's why I like it, going from the future to the past. Going from his past to his present, and it's so fun and so cool. And it's so definitely the final battle, definitely how they get that set up with certain one person. Yes, I remember that thing, but like one person sort of gets seriously. I think she dies, but like she gets at least seriously injured. And with that attack, it's like, what the. It's so effed up, but I love it. But yeah, it's just fun. It's insane. And definitely when you see the future present scenes, definitely in season 1, even, I think there are some in season 2 that are bad. You can see like, okay, I need to go back, something's gone wrong again. And it's trying to figure out why this keeps happening. But it is so good, and I 100% feel like you should watch this. So I hope you enjoy, and good night. Wait, who am I? Who are you? Wait, no, I'm normal. I don't know why I keep saying this. So yeah, I said in the last one that I heard about that and Freaky Friday in general through this movie. But I'm going to be clear, I didn't watch the full movie. No. What I did watch is certain clips, because certain moments are, I think, iconic, which the rock concert at the end, which I would like to point out is really interesting, is not in the original. I think it's interesting because, like, with this one, obviously certain things have changed. And obviously I need to say this, having a person who has watched the original and reviewed the original and watched this. The original is school, and the idea that school for the girl, the school is hard, which, fair. Sometimes certain tests vary here with GPAs and all this stuff. Luckily, I don't need to deal with that shit. Yay! And I mean that, like, I have GCSE in the UK, and I think GBA would be the nearest thing. I don't know. Being tested every year would be like hell. So I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. That's amazing. I never had to deal with that. Yay! That's besides the point. But that was the original one, which in this one, it's sort of like, you do have some stuff connected to the school, but you also have to be like, oh, how do you do that, deal with this, and then deal with having a band, which I love. And as the adult, the original one is sort of dealing with, oh, how do you sort of like be a stay-at-home mom with all of these, and cooking and cleaning, which back when the original was airing was sort of a norm. And with the 2000, because if I'm correct, this is 2003, this is one where it's sort of, and then you sort of deal with more of like a job environment, which I would say is like interesting comparing the two. Because do I think, two things I would like to say. Do I think that there are certain things that like women are being looked more down, oh, you can't do this job because you're a female, etc., etc. Females can do any jobs, and I fully admit that. I also don't like the idea that some people are like, oh, what do you want to do? Be a stay-at-home mom? Like, some people do want to raise kids and look after kids. Some people also want to look after kids and have a job. All of these are options. These are all valid choices. But because I am neither someone who's in charge of those options or someone who's impacted by those options, I feel like there's better people who could tell you why this has happened. But I just would want to point out that those are the difference. And I prefer this one because it's more interesting, because it shows more of their likes and dislikes. And yeah. I also like one little cut, but I'm going to explain that later because that's one cut. And that's, besides that cut and two other things, spoilers are going to be a bit less, but I prefer that than this. I just felt like I needed to say that because they are so different from that. And I do know that there is a sequel to this, which I am going to watch soon, eventually. I haven't watched that one yet. So I'm going to say the cut last because that's a quick one. The two things I like the speech because this is when they're swapped and this character who's in this body, even though that is the right order, it's a bit confusing, there's this really big speech about sort of like, it's really interesting and I really like it because it's sort of acknowledging both of them because they're both sort of like, even though in a speech you probably should be looking around, they both sort of like look and sort of like look at each other at his own moment. And it's sort of that like, yeah, we actually get each other now. And I love it. I also like the final band at the end and the final concert, which I also find is fun. And I think at the beginning, they're still swapped, and then they swap back, and then they continue. I also like this idea, because in the original, there's no reason why the magic exists. This one, magic fortune cookies, and it's like, and you have it there at the end being like, it's like, oh, I wish I'd learn more about you. Oh, I wish I'd learn more about you. And then you have some person be like, here's the fortune cookie. No. I like the idea that it's one person, and I fully love the idea. Whereas one person being like, so these people are having trouble. It's like one person was like, so these people are having trouble. I will help. It's not villainous. It's just chaotic in that fun way of being like, I have a way that I can help you to see each other's perspectives in the most literal way possible. Also, the one cut which I like is near the beginning of the movie. So, she's trying to get up. This is, they're in their own body, they still have arguments. They're trying to get up. The brother comes in and sort of like causes a disruption. The one thing I love is she runs, gets him out, closes the door, and then when you open it, it cuts to, oh, we're all done, we're getting ready. I love it. I love that, like, sort of like, close the door, open the door, I'm ready. And it's like, it's fully like 5 seconds, but I like that sort of like, boom, boom. Because like, yeah, they could have done something, probably not. But I just like the idea that it's like, oh, get out of my room. And then you hear, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. And I just like that quick cut. I don't know why. I just like it. That stuff, I just love. Don't know why. But yeah, this is really fun and I really love it overall. I haven't seen the sequel, obviously. Obviously, I know it's connected to this, and I've seen some trailers of it. So that's what I'm interested in. And obviously, I know there's another one which comes out in between these two. Which, if I'm correct, is not connected to these two. But I'm going to watch that one next because that one came in between. And the last one came out 2024. So, when I'm actually... Yeah, I'm going to watch that. I'm just going to keep an eye on it. Da-da-da. Freaky Friday 2018... I'm sort of going to watch that on the 26th. I'm watching it on the 16th of May, reviewing it on the 26th, and I don't think that's coming out until the next loop, which doesn't even have a date. But after probably Undead Unluck, or in case a movie comes out and we watch something as a family, because I'm going to start doing that. We haven't done it in a while because of a bit of a chaotic couple of days. But anyway, this was fun. This is insane, and I definitely would recommend for you to watch this. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, I hope you like this, and yeah, good night. So start fights and chew bubblegum. Sadly, I'm all out of fights. I've got a lot of bubblegum up, so I'm going to go into that instead. Also, this is really fitting. Yes, this isn't the same one that I've been wearing for the last couple of reviews, but because my stream has been a bit down, I'm not going to just wear that for no reason. Usually I would review something after my stream, but because that's not happening and that's been on hold until I sort of fix my computer or get anyone or something, I don't know what's happening. That's going to be fixed. I'm just wearing anything. And because I got this birthday, it took a while, post, very confusing. I'm just wearing this. Also, it's comfortable. And yes, it is sort of designed based on the last one I wore, which was from the Aftermath store, on purpose. Because I like the sort of like red and black look, but that was breaking down, so I binned it. Anyway, let's move on. This series. This is cool. I find it interesting. I'm going to be honest. Here's my Devil May Cry experience. I watched the story of the one that everyone says is really bad and doesn't represent the Devil May Cry series. Yeah, I'm working on a very bad foot. So, yeah, I get that. I know a lot of you don't, but anyway. This is cool. This is fun. And I like it. I find it really interesting about the fight. And definitely in some level, you see further on with certain elements and certain sides, the conflict. But I like the conflict because at first it's, oh, the demons are bad because why wouldn't they be? But then when you look into it, shit, beep up. Oh, you have these enemies who are doing this manipulative thing? That's from both sides. And definitely the scene where it's like, oh yes, we will go. Like, because when you were killing demons on Earth, that made sense. That was a safer decision because they are attacking us. You can make an argument that that's still wrong because their place is toxic and they can't live there. So they have to sort of like blend in, which I find is clever. So the demons aren't seen as evil. Some probably are. but not all. But then you get them being like, oh no, we're going to invade them and kill all of them to make sure we are safe. Excuse me, what? What? That's effed up. So, when that happened, and it had all of that, I questioned it. And then, obviously I know this part because I know it is a big part, and even in the game, which is bad, it kind of had that part. Also, this is the one version which kind of acknowledges the actual game, where he's not, because the one that I watched, he was not human demon, he was angel demon. Which I like as a concept, but isn't what he is about. I would still like a version of that, a story where it's like half angel, half demon. I know there are some versions exists, but I just like that concept. Anyway, that's not this though. He's half human, half demon, which I like. That's why he has the powers. I find it clever. And then his brother's alive, and yes, I already know this. I've seen some versions of the game. It's not really spoiled, but I'm going to acknowledge they don't really they do that literally at the end of season 1. Literally, everything's wrapping up. His brother. I also, another spoiler which I like is you have this rabbit. At the beginning looks like a demon, but wait, human. And I like the idea that you have this unique animation for one episode to show his past, to show why he's doing this, and you have both look different, and it's clever. And I like how it's bringing back one of the main sort of like soldiers who is on the other side, who's figuring all of this out. I don't know what season 2 is going to be, but hopefully they're going to tackle the army, who probably is invading the demon world, or like try and stop that in some sort of way, because they are sort of like, you had a big version of like the demons are the bad guys harming humans, but I feel like season 2 is going to reverse that by sort of like making the humans who are harming demons badly. And I don't know if they're going to do season 3, but I feel like that if they're going to do season 2, that might be it. I don't know. Just a theory. But yeah, I definitely think you should watch this. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's incredibly action. It's a bit, sorry for swearing, bloody and gory. Although, why am I saying a swear word? I'm saying literal, what it literally is, but besides the point. But I do think it is worth it. So I hope you enjoy, and good night. Have you heard a story? Good, because I'm really interested if you have any nice stories to hear. So yeah, Toilet Bound, I'm not going to bounce because I know I'm going to mispronounce. I like this because this is sort of fun in that like interesting way, because the main thing that I like about it is the ending and that sort of like action, but I love the small little things through changing it, because you had some of it in season 1 that were being sort of like changed in season 2. Like a couple of the ghostly stories are being like changed to not be as like, because someone changed them and they've been being changed again, which is really interesting. But that was a bit rushed, I do admit, but I am going to say I like this bit, which I feel like is a spoiler. So, 1, because you have a bunch of these major, like, ghostly... I always forget what these are called, because I'm an idiot. But one of them is the story of this person who was a painter. So they have these paint worlds, and that they're in this world of sort of like paint and make-believe, which is an interesting idea. And when you realize why, because he wants her not to die, and she is going to die, it's interesting, because I feel like at the end of the day, the only thing, because there's one connected to time connected to, which they do introduce in this season, which might be able to have something about it. But in my opinion, I feel like how they're setting this up, of accepting what's happened in the past and trying to see if it can create a new future, I feel she is going to die. She might not. She might be like, and now the cure, and now not dying. But I feel like maybe she will die. That, or like she'll be like, to survive she had to like be fully disconnected from this world somehow. I don't know, but I feel like she might die. But I do think this is a very interesting, fun series. So yeah, I definitely think you should watch. It is fun, it is insane, but yeah. So I hope you enjoy, and good night. Some kind of effects may include an absolutely badass show. Yeah. So yeah, besides that being something that I had to do for fun, this is insane. Definitely with some of the visuals when they're doing the stuff is so interesting. And when they bring up the idea of, because there are some things I want to talk about that I love, but when they bring up the idea of like, oh, like this thing that can fully heal, it's really interesting. I think it's based off like, there's like this thing that people believe in, this sort of like theory. I don't actually care much about it, but it's the idea that like, oh, that's what like the drug company would want you to say. They want you to be like, oh, there's no way to be healthy, etc., etc. Like they want you to be unhealthy. And to a certain extent, there are some things I don't like. I have said that even in a couple other like shorts with plaguing, etc., that the price of insulin should be like way down, because to make it isn't a lot. I think it's like 23 cents, and then to buy it is one of the most expensive material, and it's like, oh. But I don't think it's like, oh, I'm trying to make you unhealthy. Evil laugh. But the one thing I do think is an interesting idea, which is, even though there's some things I feel like should be less priced or easier to get, the idea of this existing kind of throws certain things out of the water, which I do believe there are some things that like maybe should get rid of, but you have to take the idea of like, let's say theoretically we could be able to mass produce this in a way that we can give this to anyone with any injuries. Okay, what do we have as a result? Okay, most likely cancer gone. It's no longer a thing because you can give it to this and it'll be fine. Or it gets worse because cancer is just a mutation. So I don't know if that will help or not. It shows it helps, so, but it doesn't also help aging, which is also, if you know the science, and I'm not 100%, so if there's any doctors who can say it better, please do. There's certain things where it's like, they have aging is where the telomeres, which is the end points on like the chromosomes, wear down. I'm not 100% sure on that sort of aging, sort of like your DNA wearing down. So maybe it doesn't heal it because it technically isn't fully an injury, it's just the DNA is being lost. If that's the case, does that mean when you're a kid and you slowly take it from a kid, you just don't age? Because there's a certain thing where it's aging or not. But that's getting into a thing of things where it's like, I am just out thinking this and this doesn't even talk anything about it. So let's forget about that. That's confusing. But I don't know what would happen to cancer. It shows it heals it, so let's take that. Cancer's gone. Most diseases and pandemics will never be a thing. You have these. That's fairly simple. Most injuries you won't need, so you won't have any sick days, holidays, but the baby bath there so that you can heal from the injuries, and this will get rid of that. Most scans for injuries won't, because there's a thing where like you can tell that like some people do injuries so they can get some time off or something like that,
or like insurance. Maybe that part will be there so that if they can buy it, I don't know. But stuff like smoking, alcohol, and drug uses in other respects might go up. Because why worry about what stuff like cocaine could do if this could just wipe the slate clean? Which I actually like, that the person who says that later says, oh, I do this and it harms me and I don't care. Later, when he's dying and it's like, oh, I think it's cancer that he has. It's like, oh, you have this. And it's like, oh, I shouldn't take this because it gets rid of course. He goes back and takes it because he's a hypocrite. But I like the idea that he stated where a lot of people will do more risky things. It is an interesting idea because, again, why would I care about what drugs would do? Because on the short term, yeah, it will make me sort of feel a little bit better because that's what it does in the short term. But long-term side effects, this can get rid of, which is an interesting dilemma. I don't know if they're going to talk about it more because that'll be interesting and I would love a second season of this. And I would think people wouldn't care about, there might be companies lowering down on safety. Besides on like consumer, they're not going to be like, if there's like stuff like theme parks and consumers are going to get injured, then they're not going to care. But they might try and overwork their employees because, let's say, that the effects from like tiredness could go away because of stuff like this. Which I don't know, they bring up. And I don't know if they're going to talk more about it as an interesting idea. Because that idea, I love. They don't talk about it too much besides that one conversation, but I do love it. Because overall, you would think stuff like this would be useful. But people can probably take advantage of it in other ways. I don't know if they take advantage of the work thing. They never bring that up. And I would be interested if they could do that. If it sort of like means that like, oh, we don't need to like have a 12-hour weekday because we can do this. I don't know. That would be interesting if the show goes that way or not. But I just like that debate about if this became a thing, would people be more risk prone? Which I love as a theoretical idea. It's one of the things. I also like the idea, which is another split up, but it's for logical reasons. Because when these two, going back a bit, meet up, find this, she starts making it in a lab with the company. And he goes to jail. And it's like, these two split up because, oh, you're just doing this to gain. So, like, some, like, noticeability. Which, fair. Fully fair. But it is to the point that is... it is to the point that is an actual good reason why. And I'm going to stop because I don't have anything else to add. But I just like that. Because a lot of people, for that split, yeah. But this one makes sense why. So yeah, this was a long one. But yeah, it was mostly talking about the theory idea that I had and thinking it would come back. Because I feel like this will come back. This is fun. This is cool. This is just overall amazing. And I do think this is one of the shows that I think should have another season. I would love it to have another season. But it definitely is really interesting. And you should definitely watch it. So I hope you enjoy and good night. So yeah, I was about to record it and then realised I got the wrong image. Apparently I've been keeping the image from season 10 for some stupid reasons. Anyway, not only is it free reviews, free of everything else because I'm an idiot and keep forgetting to put this off, it's a Simpson update, which the next one will be a while because usually I will watch this while I do my streaming, which might not happen for the next bit until I get my computer looked at. It also might be soon because new chair, new area. I decided to come from the top floor to the downstairs. Maybe upstairs was like too warm and moist. I don't know. Because my CPU was high, so that's why my streaming... Definitely, you can see in the Buckshot Roulette, which I'm going to edit, and it's going to be horrible. Where it's like... So that's one thing, which is going to happen. The other is this is roughly getting back into when I sort of mainly watched it. Seasons of like when I was doing 10 to 12 was like, oh, I can remember some episodes, but some I don't remember. So that could be some of the episodes that I did went back to. But this is sort of like, oh, this is me getting into it. I think roughly where I left probably would be soon. So there'll probably be some episodes, because this is getting into the style I did watch. There is a newer style, which is for even modern version, because it's definitely split into 3 versions. You have a little bit of a janky version during the beginning. You have this version I'm used to, and then you have what is now, which is even more like cleaner, rounder. I think that's just more to do with the tech increasing. I think there's more seasons of this, maybe even more of this, which is going to be fun, but that's not out. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it will be out before I move on, but this is fun, it's insane, I like it. So yeah. Again, this is just a fun thing that I like doing, definitely. I also might watch it when I update. I also update this when I update my Crunchyroll, so I watch something in the background. So yeah, again, it's weird, it's fun, and it's sort of like a nice sort of show idea. I like doing 3 minutes because I started doing it during chunks of 3 minutes because this is 13 to 15, and I haven't stopped because I like it. It's very stupid, but again, the next one is 16, 17, 18, which I'm nearly done with. But overall, I'm just gonna wait until I get my computer fixed. Or no, not the Crunchyroll. The Crunchyroll is gonna be a while, but yeah. This is definitely fun, and one of the things I definitely would recommend for you to watch.